Hello students, today we're going to be talking about two more and our last two of our triangle congruences. The first one's going to be angle side angle and the other one's going to be angle angle side. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alright, so the first one we're talking about is angle side angle, and what this says is if we have two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of a second triangle, then those two triangles are congruent. So in this specific case, if we have these two triangles here, ABC and DEF, remember when we're talking about included angle, this is very similar when we talk about the included side. So we're going to be indicating two angles, and the side length that we're talking about is going to be between them. So for example, here we have our first angle comparing angles A and D, and then we have our side lengths, in this case it's AC and DF, and then we have our other angles, angle C and angle F. Then we can say that the two triangles, or triangle ABC, is congruent to triangle DEF. So again, it's important that when we're doing angle side angle, the other angle, or the side, is the one that's in between the two angles. And the reason we need to make sure we know the difference is because the other one is angle angle side. And in this case, we have two triangles here where now the side that we're talking about isn't in between the two angles. Now, how do we figure out, should we be doing angle side angle or should we be doing angle angle side? Well, the idea here is you can only skip one piece. So you can only skip one angle or you can only skip one side. So if I were to start from this angle and work my way clockwise, just clockwise, what you would see here, if I have an angle, but now I'm going to be skipping side length AB, and then I'm going to be skipping an angle. So we can't skip both a side and an angle, or two sides or two angles. So we're not going to read it going clockwise. We're actually going to go counterclockwise, where we're only skipping a side here. So we'll have angle, angle, followed by a side. So anyways, in this case here, we have our first angle, angle A is congruent to angle D. Then we have angle C is congruent to angle F, and then we have the non-included side in this case. So we can also have used it if A, B, and DE were congruent to each other as well. So the triangles would be congruent by angle, angle, side. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. In this first one here, we want to know if the triangles are congruent and how we would figure that out. So as you can see, we have ourselves a set of angles that are congruent to each other and a side. Those are the markings that were given. However, what we have is another pair of angles here. We have vertical angles. So is this angle angle side or angle side angle? Well, in this one here, it's angle angle side, because if you follow, we're going to go angle followed by this angle and then a side. If we had gone the other direction, we would have been skipping a side and angle. All right, so let's take a look at letter B. For this, we only have the information about the angles. We need to have more information than just angles. We need to have at least one side. If you compare all the ones we've talked about, side, 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 angle, side, hypotenuse, leg, angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle, every single one of them at least involves one side length. And like I was talking about in class, visualize an equilateral triangle. We can have a giant one the size of the room with all angles being 60, 60, 60, but we can also have an itty bitty one about the size of my hand with angles 60, 60, 60. So even though angles are congruent, doesn't necessarily mean we have two congruent triangles. All right, taking a look at letter C, again, we want to determine how they're congruent. We don't have more than one side. We only have the one that's in between here. So we want to know how are these congruent. In this case would be angle side angle, because we have the side length that's between our two angles. So we have yes by angle side angle. So let's go ahead and just sum this all up in one little place. So we've learned 5 things altogether. The first thing is side, side, side. This is where we indicate that all 3 sides are congruent to each other. The second is side angle side. So we have 2 sides and the included angle are congruent. The third was the hypotenuse leg, and as you can see, it's a right triangle over only, so it's a hypotenuse and a leg. So again, that's with right triangles. The ones we just talked about today, where we have 2 angles and the included angle is angle side angle, and then we have 2 angles followed by a side, so it's a non-included angle, and that would be angle angle side. So I just wanted to do a couple more examples with determining which one it is now that we know all 5. Determining how these triangles are congruent in which way, if they are. So let's take a look at the first one, and what you want to do is determine what am I given. So in number 3 here, you see that I have 2 angles and I have a side length. So out of all the ones we know, we can either have it as angle angle side or angle side angle. So taking a look at where our important pieces are, if I were to go clockwise on this, you would see that I would be skipping a side and an angle, so I can't go in that direction. So instead, I'm going to go angle, I'm skipping a side, that's okay because it's only one thing, followed by another angle, and then the side that's not in between them. And just kind of verifying that it works for this one as well. This is angle, angle, side. So we're good to go here. Let's take a look at number 4 now. So I have 2 sides and an angle. So the only ones that have 2 sides and an angle is side, angle, side. So what we want to do is analyze the actual angles and make sure that they're in the right place. I hope you can probably hear my dogs in the background barking. They're playing around outside, so sorry about that. Anyways, so like I was saying, we only have side, angle, side. So we have to make sure that the angle is actually the one that's included in the angle. Now again, depending upon which way you go looking at these triangles, it could end up looking like side, angle, side. Because if you went clockwise in this one, it would look like I have a side angle, and then followed by side. However, you'll see here I'm skipping a side and angle, so I can't go that way. So in this one, it's side, side, angle. That's the way I'm going to write this one. That does not exist. Neither does the reverse. So please make sure when you're writing down which the reasonings are, if you write a bad word down, you know you've done something wrong. Looking at number 5, the last one here, once again, it looks similar to the other one that we had done with the pictures, and this is angle, side, angle, because we have 2 angles and a side. The last thing I want to go over with you is if I give you 2 pieces of information, what would be the other piece that we need? So in this case here, let's take a look at the first one. I want to say that these 2 triangles are congruent, and I want to use angle, angle, side. So let's look at what we're given. We're told that this side length here, GH, is congruent to MN. So there's our side length. We now need 2 angles. The one angle is angle G and angle M. So the other one needs to have it so that it's angle, angle, side, and not angle, side, angle. Well, since we have used GH, in order to get angle, angle, side, we need to use one where this is not going to be the included side. So we're going to have to use angle F is congruent to angle L. Moving on to the next one, we've got segment FG is congruent to segment LM. So it's this case, or these segments at the top here. And we know that angle G and angle M are congruent to each other. But I want to use angle, side, angle. So now what I know is that I needed to have it so that side is the included side and not the non-included side. So if this is the angle G that I'm looking at with side length FG, once again, I'm going to have to use F in order for it to be angle, side, angle. So this one again will be F is congruent to L. And then finally, a last one here, we have segment FH, so the big one here is congruent to LN, and we have H is congruent to N. So we want side, angle, side. So in this case, we want to make sure that we keep that angle as the included angle. So in order for that to happen, we need to have the other side that this angle is made up with. So we already have FH, so the other one would be GH is congruent to segment MN. Please make sure you have taken notes if you needed it. There's the PDF file, and also do the survey that follows. I will see you tomorrow. Please bring any questions you need.